Hello and welcome to ILTV's Evening Update. I'm Aaron Porras here with the latest news from Israel. Shortly before his scheduled meeting with Norwegian Foreign Minister Børge Brende in Jerusalem, Prime Minister Netanyahu offered his opinion that the Paris Middle East Peace Summit scheduled for Sunday, January 15th, was rigged against the Jewish state. He expressed appreciation that the international community was so engaged in Middle East peace, but said that efforts such as this would, quote, render peace hopeless, end quote. He continued by saying the conference was, quote, rigged by the Palestinians with French auspices to adopt additional anti-Israel stances, and this pushes peace backwards. It's not going to obligate us, end quote. Defense Minister Avigdor Lieberman echoed the Israeli premier, saying that, quote, if someone thinks that with intimidation, pressure, or an international conference he can change the reality here, he is mistaken, end quote. Israel is said to have not been invited to the conference and rejects the idea of going anyhow. Prime Minister Netanyahu has repeatedly claimed that the only negotiated peace that would both result in a lasting peace as well as a compromise all parties could agree to is if the Palestinians and Israelis negotiated directly and without preconditions, similar to the deals negotiated with Egypt and Jordan in the past. Some 70 countries and organizations are due in Paris for the conference. The Israeli army continues to maintain that there have been no offers for IDF Sergeant Alois Azaria to receive a lighter sentence to drop the appeal against his manslaughter conviction for killing a terrorist, and that any news reports to the contrary are untrue. The IDF spokesperson says the army has only met with the Azaria family since the verdict to see if they require any additional assistance. The statement comes right after Israeli Channel 2 News released a tape it says was recorded on Monday, in which an IDF colonel appears to be encouraging Azaria's father Charlie to cut a deal with the defense to lighten his son's sentence. A military tribunal is expected to hand down Sergeant Azaria's sentence in about a month, after finding him guilty last week of contravening IDF rules of engagement when in 2015 he fatally shot a Palestinian wounded during a Hebron terror attack. The army says the Channel 2 report is wrong and that the meetings had nothing to do with the legal process. Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau has picked a Russian critic as the country's new top diplomat. Trade Minister Chrystia Freeland was appointed Foreign Affairs Minister, but she also retained responsibility for the Canada-US relations portfolio, including the trade relationship. The change is part of a wider scuffle of Trudeau's inner circle as he tries to position Canada for a new cooperation with its largest trading partner. Canada's relationship with its neighbor could be tested with the new U.S. administration, as President-elect Donald Trump has promised to renegotiate the 1994 North American Free Trade Agreement, or NAFTA, which is aimed at removing tariff barriers between Canada, Mexico, and the United States. Trudeau's appointment of Freeland was announced just as the outgoing Foreign Minister Stéphane Dion was scheduled to arrive in Israel today for a 4-day visit. Canadian officials said they plan for the new foreign minister to visit Israel sometime in the spring. Even though he was never captured, Nazi hunters are taking some measure of satisfaction that German war criminal Alois Bruel reportedly led a miserable existence in his final years. Bruel was one of the world's most notorious wanted Nazi war criminals. 2 Israeli missions to apprehend or execute him, one in 1961 and the other in 1980, ended in failure. It's widely believed that Bruel was offered refuge in the 1950s by Syria, where he used the name George Fisher while serving as a torture expert to the regime, even though Damascus never admitted it. Now the French Review 21 magazine just published an interview with one of Bruel's security guards, who says he spent more than a decade incarcerated in a dilapidated Damascus basement. He reportedly suffered and cried a great deal, and survived only on meager army rations until finally dying at the age of 89 in 2001. The Austrian-born SS commander is also said to have remained a fervent anti-Semite right up until his death. The man, described most often as a monster, played a key role in the implementation of Hitler's final solution to murder Jews. 16 years ago, a French court sentenced him in absentia to life imprisonment for commanding the Drancy internment center outside Paris during World War II, and deportation of at least 128,000 Jews to the death camps. South African opposition leader Mmusi Maimane is on a tour of Israel despite a public appeal from President Jacob Zuma to avoid traveling to the Jewish state. The head of the Democratic Alliance in South Africa's parliament, Maimane is on a tour along with fellow Democratic Alliance parliamentarian Michael Bagraim. An Israeli official said that the visit is part of an ongoing effort to maintain positive relationships with South African leaders who support Israel. The visit was not organized by the Foreign Ministry, though it did facilitate setting up meetings that are expected to include Prime Minister Benyamin Netanyahu. During a speech at an ANC event on Saturday, South African President Jacob Zuma stressed his party's support for the Palestinians and called on ANC members to boycott travel to Israel and business with Israeli companies located in the disputed territories. Said Zuma, quote, "We firmly discourage travel to Israel for causes not related to fostering peace in the region. We call for unity in Palestine and support UN Security Council Resolution 2334 of December 2016, end quote. That's all for now. Stay tuned on ILTV.tv for our main daily broadcast playing after this. I'm Aaron Porras and see you next time with our morning briefing from Israel at 8 a.m. Eastern Time.